back into the conversation. I believe that it's critically important that we lead with equity and inclusion, and that people have to be part of the conversation and the solution. We have to have a partnership with the people that we frankly haven't seen for a very long time, and certainly not in the last 7 years.
Lori, to improve education, you said you favor an elected school board, you favor neighborhood schools, you don't favor more charters. Is there something that's really central to what you would do about the schools that would dramatically improve the quality of education, especially for low-income minorities?
Well, I mean, first things I do is make sure that I treat parents and teachers and other stakeholders as welcome partners in the conversation. There's been a lot of harm and injury done over the last 7 years. 50 school closings, then the 4 high schools in Inglewood, the attempted closure of NTA. People are losing confidence in CPS, and of course, the horrendous CPS sex abuse scandal that was mishandled from day one. We have got to reach out to parents and build a real relationship and partnership, and then think about the ways in which we can rebuild the neighborhood schools. People are leaving the city because of violence, to be sure, but also because young families don't feel like they have choice. And as a mother of a young child, I want to make sure that children all over the city can stay in their neighborhood and not have to travel 3, 4, and 5 miles outside of their neighborhood one way every single day for the promise of a decent education. That's wrong, and we're doing harm to those neighborhoods, and we have to change that around. All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. No, I don't think so.
You guys aren't leaving, right?
I wasn't sure you were here.
We're never leaving.
I've been waiting my turn.
I didn't see you back there.
I was getting a nap. Are there any questions?
How do you feel in the final week here?
I feel good. I feel good. I think we're surging at the right time. All the data that we see shows us growing. We are going to hit it real hard on the retail politics of meeting people, talking with people throughout the city, just like we have the last 2 weekends. We've been covering every corner of the city, Saturdays and Sundays and evenings, and it's really been invigorating to meet people from throughout the city and hear what their concerns are. People want to talk about the issues, which is really important to us. We like talking about the issues too. And so I feel real good as we're heading into Election Day.
Do you see a sense of confusion among voters, just so many choices? And, I mean,
not really.
It's 3 or 4, not 14.
Yeah, right. I think the field's narrowing right now. I think there's a couple, 3 of us that are really moving. And I think people are smart and they sense that. And that's where they're kind of focusing right now as to who they would like to support. And we hope it's us. I mean, we're working real hard to meet as many people as we can. I mean, we're still hitting it hard on television, Spanish language television, radio, social media, and our voter contact. So we're hitting it on every possible angle. In addition to me going out on foot, cars, we'll be having more to say about that a little bit later in the week, and meeting as many people as possible throughout the city.
Are there any mistakes you made 8 years ago you've learned from, you've changed strategically this time around?
No, not as much that as the difference in the race itself. I mean, when I ran previously, it was basically Rom and me, in the last couple of months of the race. In this race, there's been such a large field with some really good candidates that that has made the difference more than anything else. And so you've had to kind of adjust your strategy to deal with more people. It has affected fundraising in a certain way. But we're still going to raise $3.5, maybe $4 million by the time it's over. So I feel good about what we've been able to do. We set out to accomplish our goals, and I feel very, very strong going into Election Day.
Gary, Paul Vallis has said when you were at CPS and you were president of the board and he was superintendent of education, he said you were ambulance chasing business. He said you had a conflict. You went after business that you yourself, as a board member, were voting on. He said the abstentions, the 400 abstentions don't do it because you could persuade perhaps other board members to support business for you. What do you say to Paul Vallis, all of that?
I would say that that is entirely incorrect. Paul knows better. He was there. He never said a word because, you know why? There was nothing to say a word about. In fact, every matter that came before the Board of Education was recommended by Paul Vallis. That's just the way the system was set up. I didn't even know what these matters were until shortly before the meeting. And that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. But no, I mean, look, Paul Vallis in 2011 said, I'm pretty close to a quote here, I just don't have it in front of me, that Gary Chico was the most qualified candidate of anybody in the country to run a big city. I'll rest on that.
On your ads, just one follow-up. On your ads that talk about what you did, and I understand you did a lot of good things when you were at CPS, but did they take credit for, without acknowledging what Paul Vallis was doing? Because as I recall, he was Mr. Inside, you were Mr. Outside, and whatever you were doing that was good, I thought it was the two of you. Your ads just mention you. Is that fair?
And his ads just mention him.
I didn't see so many ads.
Oh, he's
from him
all over
on
social
CBS.
media. He's been at 122 forums.
Okay.
All of his statements, announcements are all about him. And
Is that
you know
fair
what?
for him?
And
Shouldn't you both of you be talking about what you did jointly?
Jeff, far more so than he, have given him credit for a lot of the work done there. And not just him. We had a very broad team. And I think the proper thing to do is to give credit not only to Paul, how about the other board members? There was no scandals when we were there, not even close. And the turnaround, I didn't call Bill Clinton and ask him to comment on it. He called it a turnaround model for the country. So there's an awful lot of people that were responsible for that renaissance. The major point of all that is we need it again, and we could do it again. This is not about looking back and it's as a historical exercise. This is about what can you do today. I bring the most experience of any of these candidates, period, on the issues that are relevant to being mayor of this city. I've heard people talk about, I got this little sliver, I got this little sliver. Let me tell you something. You walk into that job of mayor, you better be ready to go on day one. You better know what it's like to fix streets. You better know what it's like to get education funding. You better know what it's like to build parks. You better know what it's like to have a fire department fully trained and equipped and ready to go. You better know what it's like to hire, not just tell me about police accountability, hiring police, deploying police, building police facilities. I bring all that into this candidacy that no one else in this race has. When a lot of people say, I'm ready to go on day one, I believe I'm the only candidate that is truly ready to go on day one.
What specifically about your strategy have you adjusted because of the size of the field? You alluded to it, but what have you actually?
Well, I mean, it's real simple. I mean, when I ran in 2011, I only had one basic opponent. And so you can just focus with the luxury on that person. Now you've got how many people until this field started to separate?
It's like the ad that went up where you hit all three of them, that kind of stuff.
I mean, look, we just call it the way it is. Look, people in this city are being driven out by the cost structure here. We put Mendoza and Preckwinkle put tax and tax and tax on everybody. And look, there's even a greater insidiousness to this, if you will. Daley and Preckwinkle are wholly owned subsidiaries of special interests. Preckwinkle of one or two unions that she has to sit around with immediately on that very table and negotiate labor contracts. That just cost us hundreds of millions of dollars with that play. Daley, come on. I mean, he's taken now a $2 million from Bruce Rauner's largest donor. I mean, do you really think this is going to be an honest representation of the interests of the people of Chicago? No, it's not possible.
You'd reject Ken Griffin's
My good friend Willie Wilson said the following: you take $2-3 million, you're bought. That's the way it is, folks.
So if you're in the runoff, you turn down Ken Griffin if he wants to come support.
If I'm in the runoff, I'm going to be receiving resources from lots of different places, okay? By the way, even if I took money from the unions like Preckwinkle has, it amounts to less than 50%, well less than 50% of what I've raised. She's way over the majority of her money has come from two unions. She's so lucky she didn't really have to work the phones to raise money, because I think she'd be very disappointed at what she's raised. Very disappointed.
Are you standing up to the public sector unions, and specifically in your solution to the $70 billion pension hole for the city of Chicago? Are you standing up to the police unions? Are you standing up to fire? Are you saying maybe you should amend the Constitution to reduce pension?
I am not going to amend the Constitution. I have had a history, again, more so than any of these other candidates, of negotiating collective bargaining agreements with all kinds of unions in all kinds of settings, and I've never broken the bank. More importantly, in every budget that I've put together, which is 20 plus, I don't saddle the taxpayers with billions and billions of dollars of fees fines and taxes. I don't do that. That's different with me. Other people, Preckwinkle, she got into that office and she told people she was going to eliminate the Stroger sales tax. She put it right back on. Not satisfied at just doing that, she said, what else can I tax? Your LaCroix, your Frappuccino, your Gatorade, your Coke, your Pepsi, your Mountain Dew. I mean, come on. And then Mendoza wants to say, oh, I didn't really raise the tax. Look, you were part of the gang down in Springfield, okay? That was the original soda tax gang. It's true. It wasn't just soda. It was shampoo, toothpaste, and other things. These guys, if you leave them alone and you don't call them on it, they will tax this city out of existence.
What's your solution, though, to the $70 billion pension?
What would you do? I've been very, very thorough in proposing.
Just give me the essence of it.
Casino. $300 million.
Is that enough? $70 billion?
Wait. First of all, let's put this in proper context. It's not $70 billion tomorrow. It's by 2055.
Yeah.
Let me hold on a second.
70.
If I extrapolate all the numbers out to 2055, you'll faint right here because everything goes up. Salaries, costs, revenues. So, I mean, let's put the number in context. The real issue is the one before us now over the next 4 years. That's $1 billion, roughly $250 million a year for the next 4 years. I have said, again, with that experience, I've taken on 20 budgets, and I've never had a rose garden with any one of them. They've all had hair on them, and you have to make tough decisions. When I was at the CPS with Paul Vallis, we decided that we were going to eliminate 1,700 positions from the CPS budget. None of them in the classroom, by the way, to balance the budget. You don't think I'll make tough decisions? Some people are upset with me about that. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do the bidding of the people of Chicago. They need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm the only candidate that has that broad experience of dealing with these budgets in various places and creating new revenues. I said the casino, legalized marijuana, proper assessment of downtown office buildings, 1% tax on $1 million home sales, the creation of a special district west of O'Hare Airport to tax suburbanites, not Chicagoans. I mean, if you go out there as a Chicagoan, you've probably got to pay. But that's not my aim. Who else is thinking like that? Everybody else is looking for what tax button to push. Can't do that anymore. I pledge to the people of this city to look first at revenue-raising ideas that do not start in their pocket. I will not pledge to never raise a tax. That would be irresponsible. You also have to look at eliminating waste. I heard somebody say previously they wanted to get rid of the clerks in the church. Look, I proposed that back in 2011. Now I've thrown more things in there. We have an infrastructure trust that is completely wasteful. It's $2 million a year. You could fund the mental health clinics reopening with that. I mean, there are lots of ways to look at crafting budgets that don't put bricks on the back of the citizens here. They can't take it anymore. I had a lady run up to me in Garfield Ridge 2 weeks ago with her water bill. She opened it up. It was almost like a gag. It was so long. With the charges for garbage, sewer, she's 85. She's worried about being able to stay in her house because of the water bill. I mean, have we lost it or what?
Who's your strongest competition to getting into the runoff? Who's ahead of you that you got to overcome?
I don't know if anybody's ahead of. I mean, we've been seeing polls lately that may show nobody ahead of us.
Okay, so who's closest to you? Who's your strongest competition?
Oh, I don't know. Look, I don't.
Is it Daley? Is it Preckwinkle?
I don't know. It's who's to say in the last few days of an election where the voters are at? I'm just hoping that they give a serious look to me because I think I do bring that experience to give some peace of mind to the citizens of this city going forward. And this is not all about purely finance. This is about equity. I mean, we have parts of the city that haven't been touched with investment in 50 years. And I aim to bring investment to those parts of the city, large and small. I want to bring back commercial streets, 79th Street, Archer, East 47th Street. I'm not going to sit there and watch those vacancies go for 4 years while I'm there. We're going to actually bring coffee shops, dress shops, phone shops, commerce and business back to those streets. I mean, I said with regard to Amazon, Amazon's a good thing. We should bring it, but let's broaden the deal so we get some neighborhood benefits, both in terms of small shops. Amazon Go could be part of our portfolio, and the fulfillment centers. I don't know why we're looking at this thing so narrowly. I mean, we have people that aren't going to make it in the Amazon headquarters.
All right, one more question. What's your base? Where's your base? Where's your base?
Where's my base?
Yeah.
It's all a lot. It's not just one thing. I think that's the old lens of looking at things.
Yeah.
The next mayor of this city is going to have an amalgam of different parts of the city supporting him or her, right? I think it's going to be working-class people throughout this city who don't want to have the taxes put on them to run them out of this city. I think it's going to be people who want to see better schools for their children. They're so frustrated they can't get into Peyton, Jones, Brooks. I mean, we're going to pull from a lot of different places. I don't know that anybody's going to win this election based on your base anymore. I really think we're seeing a dynamic shift in politics in this city. And you know what? I think it's for the better. We should have to work for those other bases and not just live on what's, our impulse to go with our identity. I don't agree with that.
What are you going to do about CPS as mayor compared to what you did with CPS when you were the president of the school board?
Well, when I was president of CPS, President Clinton and Secretary Riley called it a model for the country. And I think we can get back there again. But get this, not just with the CPS, but with the entire city. I'm an optimist. I think they can talk about Chicago one day as a model for the nation, where we have that perfect blend and balance of caring about our people and not taxing them out of the city, offering good schools throughout the city, but at the same time having accountability. I think that's the base that we want to operate from as a city. We want to keep ourselves reasonable going forward. We have to be sensible. Otherwise, we won't attract business.
All right.
Otherwise, our citizens will flee. But thank you for your question. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
If you get in the runoff, do the show. This would have been good for you, seriously. This is good right here, just us. Come on, just do it.
Answer
Okay.
everything you have.
No, I'm just saying, come on, do the show. If you're in the runoff, you ought to do it. It's a net plus for you.
Okay. See y'all later.